Your Worships, the Chairman of the Cultural and Leisure Activities Committee, distinguished guests, fellow councillors, ladies and gentlemen. During my career, which was a very long one, as a practicing pedagogue, I made it a prime requirement of my staff that no boy or girl who left my school...
After giving a short opening address, the Mayor of South Tyneside introduces the various guests.
We have with us the mayors of Blythe Valley, Gateshead, of Sunderland, and they are accompanied by their wives, the mayoresses. We also have the Chairman of the County Council and his lady. We have a Member of Parliament, Mr. Arthur Blenkinsop, representing the South Shields constituency. And we all know the tremendous interest that Mr. Blenkinsop has had over very, very many years in the cultural activities of this town and of other towns.
The Mayor introduces other distinguished guests.
Samuelson Sandvik. You may not know her by that name, but when I tell you it is Dorothy, the homespun philosopher for many years of the South Shields Gazette, I'm honoured on your behalf to invite
Mr. James Mitchell, the well-known local author, is called upon to perform the opening ceremony.
Mr. James Mitchell.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Mayor, distinguished visitors, ladies and gentlemen, bonny lasses, bonny lads. I've got two messages I'd like to read. First of all, they arrived just recently. First one says, if oil is struck off Marsden Rock and South Tyneside declares UDI, I'm willing to declare myself first president. It's signed Jack Ford. And the other one says, if you wish Jack Ford assassinated, can promise a good job, it's signed David Cameron. I think both of you with this one. I haven't actually been writing for 1,300 years. It only feels like it. But it's a great pleasure to be here today. A very great pleasure indeed to be asked to perform this ceremony in the presence of my son and my sister. And it's a double delight because of my father.
A commemorative plaque is unveiled to mark the occasion of the official opening.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to convey to you officially the greetings of the Council and the citizens of Wuppertal at this occasion. And may I add, as a city librarian, my hearty congratulations to my colleague, Mr. Hill. I know exactly what it takes to have a building of this type and size ready, and I think you have done a marvelous job here. Ever since the beginning of this century, German librarians have envied their British colleagues, especially in the field of public libraries, because you were so advanced. You had already free access to your public libraries. You had open access to the shelves. You had a much wider range of books, from very light fiction to very specialized books. And of course you attracted a much wider public, therefore, and therefore you got a much better public support, which in the end means a bigger budget. So when I came to Wuppertal about 3 years ago, one of the first things I did was to see the press and information officer and tell him that whenever he would prepare a visit of any group, especially of official visitors to South Tyneside, that he would please make sure that they see the public library here in order to see what a good library should look like. And then Mr. Ziegler said to me, look, I'm very sympathetic and I'd like to help you, but I don't think it will be very helpful to send official visitors to the central library there, because your own library is better than this one. But now I think things have been straightened out. You have a marvelous new building, and I can only envy my colleague Mr. Hull for being the chief of such a nice library. And when I come back now, then I ask Mr. Ziegler, now go ahead and see that everybody goes to see this beautiful library, because this is what a nice library should look like.
Officials and guests are shown the various facilities within the library by the Chief Librarian, Mr. Rod Hill.
These are a selection of the books available to the housebound reader. We take these books out to the person in their home, and they make a choice from romances, westerns, novels, non-fiction books and science fiction, and the romances are most popular, especially in the large print. These are the large print books, and here is a box of books that I'm taking out today. Well, when the service starts, there should be 3,500 records and about 1,500 tapes. But when the whole thing is complete, there should be about 7,500 records and 2,500 cassettes, tapes. We concentrated more on the classical type music, you know, but it's going to be increased all the time next.
After touring the new library building and seeing, among other things, the lecture theatre and music library, the guests are invited to a buffet given upstairs in the new building.
We've just got the dregs left on the table. That's like Susan and
That's the trouble. Well, that's what I want to be. I want to be free.
I've been. She's there again.
This is Margaret. Oh, lovely tea lady.
Oh, that nice.
What's the tea like here, Wendy?
Very nice. It's got a lovely shade of puce.
Good afternoon, Central Library Building. Good afternoon, Central Library Building. Thank you. I'm trying to connect you.
It's who? Oh, yes. Thank you. Well, okay, it'll have to be done, that's all. All the books that we've got in here belong to the people out there because they pay their rates for the library. You've got to be sure that you spend that money accurately. It's in the early 70s, libraries took a change from being just holier than thou, quiet please and don't speak. We became librarians like to call themselves cultural and educational centres. I think we have become that in the true sense of the word now. people have begun to realise that the information that they're seeking, as well as the recreation that they're seeking, is available in libraries.
This is a very good book.
I'm trying to find out how to paint. I really am.
Got some about Egypt.
About Egypt?
Yeah, because got to do some history homework about Tutankhamun. He was an Egyptian king. So he was first on the throne when he was 9 years old, but he died when he was 18. As when the people who found him did find him, he had a sort of cut in his leg which had been stitched up, and he had a walking stick. These wisdom teeth had just come through.
Well, David Whale, he's what we call our bibliographical services officer. He is one who takes care of the coordination of the material which is available throughout South Tyneside libraries.
Nobody, I think, can teach you how to select books for a particular place. And if I went from here to another authority, I would not be able immediately to select the stock for that place. You can evaluate books, you can be taught through college and everything else to evaluate books, what to look for, what is a good book on the subject. But that doesn't teach you whether or not that book is needed in that library.
This is the list that comes to me as a copy with all the branches on and also centres, the books that they want to buy. So what I then do is make out an order card for each book. That then goes in the order files, which are like this. This is the official instructions to the supplier, saying exactly what the list is. David signs it here.
Right.
And then it goes up to the post room.
You want to deal with the ordering side, from the approvals and the lists and things like that. And my responsibility starts when the books actually come into the building. The first job is, in actual fact, is to unpack the books, check them against the invoice and put them on the shelf.
Okay. That's the jury. These are the books.
Well, 000 to 900. We start off at 000, which is generalities 000. And you go right up to 999, will you believe? Travelling out of space, I believe. Extraterrestrial worlds. Get the book first of all, and then look at it. Hollywood. Usually what I do is I read the blurb to see what it's about. This one happens to be about making films. There's a couple of numbers that you can use, but the actual number that I prefer is the number for films. 79144, big record. It's about
Is there ever been anything you just haven't been able to get?
Oh yes, yes.
Really?
Yes. Actually, I had one, when was it? About 6 months ago, and it was the story of the iceberg that sank the Titanic. And it was amazing, and it was all about life in the Arctic, and about this iceberg, how it broke away from the ice cap at Spitsbergen and travelled south. But at the time it was charting its path that they thought it might have taken. But what was happening up in the Arctic at the time, it was all about these expeditions going on, the birds, the animals and all this. What was happening over at Holland and Wolf's with the ship, how the ship eventually set off across the Atlantic, the iceberg met it, and that was it, boom. And I spent my lunchtimes for about a fortnight reading that book, trying to work out what to do with it, and I actually ended up putting it in the number for the Arctic. So what I'll have to do with that, because we don't do anything with that, just put fiction on there. And I'll pass it over for Catherine there, who deals with the fiction.
Sort them in alphabetical order, and then I put them in the catalogue out in London.
Anne Scott is Central Adult Lending Services Librarian. At home you don't like the books you get, tell her. If you don't like the records you get, tell her. And if you don't like the Central Lending Library, tell her, don't tell me.
That the amount of staff that we have got to make it fair in the way of rota days off during the week and late nights and all that sort of thing. Everybody actually is on a shift system. When she's actually doing a timetable for that day, she makes sure that everybody has a fair turn. For example, that obviously somebody who's in desk all night, say if they're working a late night and they're in desk from 4:30 till 7, there's no way we would have them in desk on an afternoon. Saturday staff. They're paid weekly.
You have to wait for it.
So how? Generally, they just ring in here, or upstairs. Social services ring in quite a lot. Once or twice we've had doctors note there was the son or daughter call in. And then I call out, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, and have a word with them, find out what sort of books they like, and go forward.
This is a gentleman who takes the books.
I remember one time there was a woman whose son, I think I'm writing, I must get this story right. I think it was her son who was in Australia, whose favourite hymn, I think, was Onward Christian Soldiers. And our housebound service took a tape recorder into St Hilda's Church and recorded the choir singing Onward Christian Soldiers and gave it to the woman. And I heard the story of all of them sitting around the tape recorder crying while the tape recorder played Onward Christian Soldiers. But I find Geordies are very personable people. They are, you hear a lot of people say that Geordies are friendly. I'll tell you they are. Certainly the people who come into the libraries are. They are very, and they do like you to speak to them.
What is it?
He's only...
Ball. That's right.
Yes, and of course children weren't really allowed in the adult parts, you used to have sort of wooden benches just as you went into each department where they could sit.
Sitting there every day when I used to
it was, they were very strict about, sort of how quiet they had to be. And,
yes, it's not quite the way it used to be.
So, that has changed.
No eggs here. Oh dear. You say that the next time? So he went to the sty to ask the... What do you think's in here? Pig. You're bound to be right sometime, aren't you? And what did the pig say? And what else did he say? He said, no eggs here. Oh dear. Very good. So he went to the field to ask the hens? The sheep. What did the sheep say? And what else did he say? No eggs here. Oh dear. So you went to the stable and asked the horse. Hang on a minute, Craig. Horse. What did the horse say? No eggs here, Brian. Oh dear.
So many things in libraries now need to be speedier because people are demanding more from their libraries. But mechanisation is going to come. But when I come to the end of a talk, I always say to people, if you watch Star Trek, watch Captain Kirk on Star Trek, and they, in comparison with the printed word, I'm talking about electronic thing. Before the end of every Star Trek programme, a pretty little blonde thing sachets on with Captain Kirk there sitting in his chair, and always on before the end of every episode she comes on, holds out this box and gives him either a pen or a pencil, and he signs something. So there's somebody looking after the printed word. Even though you've got a spaceship that could talk back to you, you've still got the printed word.
Come on despair, every girl and boy. But when Quinn the Eskimo gets here, everybody's gonna jump for joy. Come on without, come on within. You'll not see nothing like the mighty Quinn. I like to go just like the rest. I like my sugar sweet, but jumping queues and making haste just ain't my cup of meat. Everyone's beneath the trees feeding pigeons on a limb. But when Quinn the Eskimo gets here, all the pigeons gonna run to him. Come on without, come on within. You'll not see nothing like the mighty Quinn. Come on without, come on within. You'll not see nothing like the mighty Quinn. Let me do what I wanna do. I can't decide them all. Just tell me where to put them, and I'll tell you who to call. Nobody can get no sleep with someone on everyone's toes. But when Quinn the Eskimo gets here, everybody's gonna wanna doze.